Good Sunday morning to you, everybody. I'm meteorologist Chris Justus, tracking Beryl, a strong and dangerous storm. And folks, since last night, this storm is rapidly intensifying and unfortunately is set to be a Cat 4 monster at landfall. This storm is going to break records. Let me show you what's happening right now. That eye wall is so contained. It's clear. This thing is a monster and it really has nothing to slow it down before making landfall in the Windward Islands. If you're new to my channel, I'm a trusted meteorologist with 20 years experience broadcasting and television. I give you early warnings of severe weather, a reliable forecast you can count on, and a direct approach you won't find anywhere else. I'm going to shoot you straight. When it's time to be concerned, it's time to be concerned. When we're still waiting and watching, I'll tell you. Please like this video and let me know where you're watching from. That would help me out greatly. A lot of tools here to track all this. You see the tracks up at the top of your screen, my different satellites, and oh, by the way, most of the United States in the south under a heat advisory, so it's going to feel like above 100 degrees on Sunday afternoon. Let's get right toward Beryl because this storm is a dangerous one that we need to keep an eye on. You see that eye wall so contained right here. Now, this is not the only storm that we are watching. Unfortunately, there is another one back toward the east that is going to follow right in the footsteps of Beryl that we're going to need to keep a close eye on in the coming days. It's this wave right here. Of course, we need to watch that. It would be after Beryl and should not be as strong. Let's look closer at some of the new data that keeps pouring in here. The National Hurricane Center has brought their forecast up to match the way that this thing is behaving and rapidly intensifying to now be a Category 4 at landfall. And we continue to hone in on the certain areas that are going to be impacted by this. Barbados south appears to be just a direct hit from this monster hurricane. And when we look island by island at this, for you folks in the Windward Islands, you're taking the brunt of this. The Leeward Islands certainly prepare for impacts, but it does not look like it's going to come directly to you. So basically, anybody from St. Lucia south, St. Vincent and the Grenadines are going to be impacted, and then Grenada. Okay, that's where it looks to be going right now. And then from there, it's a monster going into the Caribbean. Looks like it hangs a little bit to the south where it will go more toward Jamaica versus Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Since it does not go over the high mountains of Hispaniola, it gets disrupted. It does not get disrupted. It remains a Cat 3 on approach to Jamaica. So Jamaica now looks like you are preparing for a major Cat 3 hurricane. Beyond that, it brings itself down to a Cat 2 where it looks like it makes a landfall over the Yucatan Peninsula. Cancun needs to prepare for this. Mexico, Belize, even parts of Honduras and Nicaragua could have some impacts. The general trend here is to the west, but we need to watch this for a couple of different reasons. Yes, our computer models are in great agreement here through a certain point. Great agreement through the Windward Islands. And then once it gets into the Caribbean, you have some of the models that want to take it a little bit more to the north. But overall, a lot of our computer models are in great agreement here with a west. And then once it gets into the Gulf of Mexico, after it's made landfall again, a bit weaker going toward Mexico or Texas like a lot of our systems have so far. That's just the way the trend is setting up in the steering currents. How about the reliable operational computer model? I mean, they could not be more in lockstep, folks. I mean, they are just cruising right along. You've got a landfall near St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and then it's just south of Jamaica, and then it makes landfall in Mexico here. Cancun, it really needs to take a close look at this, as it really could mean business as it approaches there. Belize, you're right there in there as well. So watching it basically from Cancun south, and then it spills into the Gulf of Mexico, likely as a tropical storm, and it would kind of try to curve around. How much of that curve depends on what's happening in the atmosphere beforehand. Do we have a front coming through, a dip in the jet stream, or is this big, strong ridge of high pressure giving us all the heat intact and keeps this thing locked in where it's located and not a threat to the southeastern coast? Well, the GFS wants to have an idea. This is the ensemble run of all the different GFS models. It's in lockstep through the Caribbean islands and then gets a little bit wonky. You have some northern members, you have some southern members. The black here would be the average. This thing curves around eventually going into 4th of July 6th of July into that weekend where it would curve back around with some moisture, whether it's a tropical storm or a weaker system, we will have to watch and see. But you see here that curve from the GFS down the road, it would look a lot different, but could impact the southern United States. Here's the way the models have trended today. There's the Canadian model doing just that. You've got the GFS model spilling it into the Gulf. You've got some of our more reliable tropical models not getting out that far. So there are clues here that whatever is left of Beryl down the road, deep down the road, could be heading toward the United States. Again, the hurricane track from the National Hurricane Center keeps it west toward Central America and does not really curve it to the north, okay? Weaker would go west, but we know this is a stronger storm, so that might nudge it to the north a little bit. Let's look for deeper clues. Here's a really good visual from Tomerberg's site that just allows you the density and the confidence of the forecast. The darker the colors, the more confident the forecast, and it's really good lockstep here with Barbados getting an impact and then making its way into the Caribbean and then going just south of Jamaica. Jamaica, you need to prepare for a major hurricane landfall. I am really concerned about Jamaica beyond our friends in the Windward Islands here. And then it goes toward Cancun. GFS model takes a direct hit through Cancun. The ensembles are a little bit farther south. Now that's something to keep in mind. The one single run, the operational run of the GFS curves this back toward Texas, while all of its other mean or averages, the black, 21 different members of the GFS, take it toward the south. So does that trend go north or does it stay to the south over Mexico? Either way, something nudges toward the west. Okay, so I'm giving you kind of down the line impacts. But let's focus in on what's here and now. A Cat 4 hurricane at landfall. That's what the ship's model is now saying. It's done a really good job at pinpointing Beryl from the very beginning. It's in an idea, if you look at the sea surface temperatures that are going to remain warm, around 29 degrees Celsius. It's got plenty of moisture. There's no dry air in it for the next 48 hours. Makes a little bit of a landfall, so the humidity drops a little bit. Then it's right back to near 100%. It just doesn't have anything slowing it down. Wind shear is low, about as low as it can get over the next 48 hours. So there's just nothing to slow it down over the next 48 hours. So once it gets beyond land, its max potential actually goes up because it's away from those Caribbean islands and back out over open water in the Caribbean. So we'll have to watch this. The heat content in the ocean too, in this purple, shows me that we've got a lot of it available thereafter. We also need to watch the system behind it. This is the system way back to the west that we're going to be keeping an eye on. 96L is this invest, and it looks to take an almost identical path. Now, because Beryl is so big, it upwells. It brings up colder water from the bottom of the ocean and brings it up to the top. So it leaves a path of less conducive conditions for subsequent storms to go through. And should they go through that, it would probably be weaker. That said, we're going to have to watch this because whatever this is could bring tropical moisture over areas that just don't need to see any more rain, especially if you get a landfalling tropical system there before it, okay? Let's look at the ship's forecast here. Shows a depression forming as early as today. Probably get another National Hurricane Center track out of that. Then it becomes a tropical storm. And again, it jogs a little bit more toward the north, which may mean Atlantic interests. This is the ship's model, not an official forecast, but may need to watch this in the Atlantic. Its max potential does go up once it gets out here over open water in the Atlantic or the Caribbean, okay? It's humidity, it's ocean content, heat index, a little bit of wind shear it goes through. So we'll have to watch that one. Let's look at them both, okay? I'll back this up, show you the European model. As we look in here comes Beryl. Beryl has been very consistent. If anything, this European model keeps it a little bit farther south. So Barbados, you were gearing up for what could be a direct hit. Now looks like on the European model at least, I don't want you to let your guard down by any means because it's going to be a monster very close to you, but it now looks like Grenada could take more of a direct hit versus Barbados, but it's going to be very close to anybody in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados, and then Grenada, okay? Trinidad and Tobago, it's a little more close to home than you'd like. Certainly some swells of upwards of 15 feet there, anywhere in the Caribbean islands down to Trinidad and Tobago. Then this spills out into the Caribbean. This remains probably a Cat 3, Cat 4. Gets very close to Hispaniola, but doesn't. Therefore, it remains strong on this European model. Jamaica, oh my word. I mean, you're talking about either a direct hit or a glancing blow from a major hurricane here. And just to give you the timing here, folks, timing is tonight. Tonight into tomorrow morning for our friends in the Windward Islands. I mean, this is go time. You need to be enacting your emergency plans right now, from St. Vincent and the Grenadines to Grenada, and then over toward Barbados. Then, boom, it goes into the Caribbean, and we're talking July 3rd for Jamaica. And then, beyond that, the European model wants to keep it west, going towards Central America, where Belize and Mexico could have a direct hit from a Cat 3. All right, this would be a big hurricane making landfall there. It'd be over land. It would begin to weaken some, probably from a Cat 3 to a Cat 1. Then now it's back out over open water. It can regather itself, and this European model takes it into Mexico. All right. So just to rewind it for you, I'll give you another heads up. So tonight for the Windward Islands, Cat 4. Cat 3 near Jamaica, Wednesday. Belize and Mexico, Friday, July 5th. Cat 3, Cat 4. Spilling out into the Gulf of Mexico, Saturday, July 6th. Making landfall in Mexico again, Monday, July 8th. All right. Let's look at the GFS model, see if it's any different. Again, farther south. Yep, same deal. Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Probably a direct hit from a Cat 4 tonight into tomorrow morning. It's gone after that, Tuesday. It's now going toward Jamaica on Wednesday, same timing here. Notice this second storm, probably a hurricane on this GFS model, going right through similar areas, maybe a jog north from St. Lucia to Martinique. Dominica, very close to you. So we got Beryl and Chris possibly out here. That second storm could be named Chris. It continues to the west. Yucatan Peninsula, Cancun, Friday, July 5th. Jamaica gets a second hit from a tropical storm. All right, whatever's left of this system from the GFS model curves up to Texas by Sunday, July 7th. And then this other little tropical critter, Chris, barely anything by the time it gets to the Gulf due to dry air and wind shear. Big dome of high pressure continuing with the heat wave in the southeast would steer this away from the southeast on both scenarios. So you got two hurricanes showing up on our models here. Let me loop it back for you. First one makes landfall tonight into tomorrow, Cat 4, Beryl. Second landfall in the Caribbean islands, possible Wednesday, July 3rd. Just adding insult to injury. I mean, you get wind damage, roof damage, then another tropical system comes through. It's honestly a nightmare. Then comes Jamaica. This goes south in the Caribbean. Jamaica gets another hit. Again, same story. Roof damage. Throw those tarps on as quick as you can. Here comes the second one. But did the tarps hang on in the wind? I'm so sorry. This is just terrible news here. Both weakened by the time they get to the southeast. A big dome of high pressure would keep this away from the majority of the southeast. How about wind gusts? As we look at this swath, again, Barbados south has been the trend. St. Vincent and the Grenadines appears to be taking a big brunt of this. Really threading the needle between Grenada and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We're talking 100-plus mile-per-hour winds, gusts even higher, Cat 4 strength. Then this model takes it over Jamaica as a Cat 2, Cat 3. Notice that secondary swath comes in the right side of your screen. That'd be that secondary storm, Chris. And then the two of these kind of spill into the Gulf, where this model wants to show a strong tropical storm in Texas by Monday, July 8th. So, I mean, we've got a week and a day, 8 days to track before it would be a threat to the United States. But nonetheless, There it is. How about rainfall? This is another component that, in addition to storm surge and the wind, this is terrible. Inland flooding. It's moving fast over the Caribbean islands, a quick 6 to 8 inches there where it makes landfall. Then it starts to slow down a smidge, and look at that rain, guys. Whew. Jamaica, thankfully, it misses those mountains of Hispaniola in a way. It's a hurricane killer. It would slow it down, but would also create just terrible flooding in Dominican Republic and Haiti. Then comes this secondary system. I'm afraid Jamaica, at this scenario, would get 18 to 20 inches of rain between the two systems. So need to prepare for flooding in Jamaica. I mean, you could have a Cat 3 landfall, then a second system come through as a Cat 1, and both give you significant rain. This model going toward Texas with the remnants of Beryl, whatever it might be, tropical depression, weak hurricane, would be on the order of about 3 to 6 inches of rain. Not a lot of that gets in the Western Carolinas. We're still dry and hot as of this current look. And speaking of dry and hot, look at these heat wave advisories all the way across the southeast today. We will be watching that. Folks, simply put, now is the time to prepare. Now is the time to watch this activity. If you are in the Caribbean islands, Windward Islands right now is your time to enact your safety plan. Listen to your government officials. Go to evacuation zones should you need to. Areas in Jamaica. I know I have friends that are traveling right now from the United States. Where are you traveling to? Well, right now the biggest impacts are going to be in those southern Caribbean islands, the Windward Islands, and then Jamaica. Bahamas are pretty much left alone. The northern islands of the Caribbean are left alone. And then we start looking toward Cancun. Cancun would be next on the list. And then about a week and a day, not next Sunday, but next Monday, would be somewhere in Texas, Mexico, would be the remnants of this kind of moving over, folks. So my commitment to you is to keep you posted. We will have you updated around the clock. If you're local watching here, WYFF News 4, each newscast will be giving you the latest on Beryl and where it's heading. If you're new to this channel, I'm a trusted chief meteorologist on television with 20 years experience. I give you early warnings of severe weather, but I do it responsibly. You'll never hear me cry wolf. I like to give you warnings. I like to be transparent in my forecasting, but I'm also very responsible with it. I don't want to scare you. I want to prepare you. I give you a reliable forecast that's accurate. That's the key there. And I give you that direct approach that you just really won't find anywhere else, because my goal is to inform you, to get right to the point and let you know the information that you need to hopefully keep your family safe. All right, guys, I'll have another update later today as Beryl continues to grow into a monster, record-breaking. Didn't make this point earlier. Record-breaking. That we've never had a storm this strong, this far east in the Atlantic, this early. Okay, so Beryl setting the stage here for what's going to be a very active hurricane season, and I would really, really appreciate it if you would follow my page, subscribe, and just trust me as we go along with it. I will keep you posted. Have a good Sunday, everybody.